Hi, my name is Chen. This here is Austin. I am the founder of Petnostics, and I'm here today seeking $300,000 in exchange for 10% of my company.
Welcome to the Shark Tank Podcast. Each week, one of the best entrepreneurs from ABC's network smash hit Shark Tank teaches you how to swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. And now your host, serial entrepreneur, TJ Hale.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Shark Tank Podcast. I'm joined today by Chen. You may remember him because he's the founder of Petnostics. He was featured on season 7, and he shook hands with Lori Greiner and Mr. Wonderful KevinO'Leary for 20% of his Petnostics pet medical testing company. I think I might have screwed that up. And then
that was great.
He did that in exchange for $300,000. Let me check my notes.
Yep,
300 grand. So, Steven, welcome to the show. How the heck are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, TJ. It's great to be here.
All right, for everyone watching, we just finished our premium content. If you're interested in the behind the scenes of Shark Tank and the inner workings of actually getting on the show, I'll have the link below. We're opening the subscriber base back up in late September when season 8 starts. So, Steven, I just now noticed after the first 10 minutes of talking that you've got United States and Asia juxtaposed behind you. Is there any, it's playing with my head a little bit now. Was that intentional?
No, this is our conference room, and this is kind of where we want to go, U.S. and globally. So kind of helps keep us focused on kind of how big the world is.
Oh, I thought you were doing like a dual heritage thing back there. Like, this is me. I'm teasing.
I guess, yeah. Asian American too, so works out.
So great to have you on the show. I really enjoyed your segment. For those watching, I'll link to, if you want to watch it, where you can do that on Amazon. But you came in with your dog, Austin. You call him your something poo. What was he?
My Westie Poo.
Your Westie Poo.
Because he's a West Highland Terrier, poodle mix, Westie Poo, and that's my Austin.
You had an entertaining segment. Always, if you bring a dog on or a child on, you get to go early in the day, so everyone's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so that they don't have an accident on stage. So that was smart thinking on your part. Yeah. And you ended up with a pretty successful segment. I was entertained by it, and now it's been, you aired in what, April?
April, yeah. April 15th, I remember, tax day.
Oh, yeah, you would remember that. So it's been been about 6 months or so.
Yep.
How's the Shark Tank Tsunami? How's life? What's the latest?
No, life is great. Actually just got back from my honeymoon too. So on a personal front, very happy with everything there. So thank you. But no, the Shark Tank Tsunami, it is real. And we've been riding that. We're actually supposed to re-air tomorrow too. So we'll see what the re-air does for us. So, but yeah, no, it's been great. Things have been great.
I'm gonna have to edit this like immediately after we're done. I didn't know that. So thanks for telling me. So yeah, you got back from Bora Bora. You're back in with your colored, I was going to call them filters, your colored sensors. And so let's go over the show. I want to talk about how the company started, but the first thing I got to get out was my initial observation. I looked at my wife and I said, I run everything past her, right? That's my pre-interview. I said, this to me, if it's working with pets and these sensors are actually beneficial for pet owners, I would think the human market is where the money is going to be. Like, it's almost like you're testing on animals, right? That's not cool to say, but you're doing that because every human doesn't own a pet, but every human has a big time interest in being able to pee in a cup, shake it and go, healthy and good, and throw it in the trash. So was that always the vision, or were you strictly doing it to help the pets?
No, I'll be honest, like my background is in medical devices. And so I worked previously at an in vitro diagnostics company. And that company sells products to both the human market and the animal market. And so, when we first started with all this, I knew that there was a immediate need on the pet side, just because my vet was also telling me to get my dog's urine, to get Austin's urine so that I could bring it in to check. And I just thought, well, if people are doing this, if vets are asking people to do this anyways, if I could do this at-home test to offer the convenience of, just having more knowledge before you go into the vet, to be more engaged with your pet's health, I thought it'd be a attractive value proposition. And so that's why, we started there. And, to be honest, yes, on the human market is something that we definitely have our eye on. And obviously the human side, there's a lot more regulations when it comes to FDA filings and things of that nature. And so it's a little bit more involved, but, that is something that, we are looking towards. And so, that's something that we keep in mind. But at the same time, right now, we are definitely 100% focused on the pet market.
The FDA takes all the fun out of it. I need to rethink what the acronym should be for the FDA.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have an MBA from Harvard, highly educated, and you founded the company. In our insider segment, you said we. Do you have partners, or was that strictly the board you're referring to? I'm curious if.
Yeah, no, it's I guess me and Austin. So it's just me. And so yeah, it's just us, I guess.
Austin does all the financials.
Yep, he does. I run everything by him.
Smart. It's better than child labor, pet labor. All right. So in terms of the company, you filmed in 2015. At that point, you had sold 10,000 cups.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't air how much money that was in terms of sales or profit, but you also projected that you'd be doing 400,000 in 2016. So give us some perspective on whether your prediction was accurate or if you've blown that out of the water. How'd you do in the tsunami?
So yeah, projections are pretty like we're on track to what we projected. And that was kind of going in there and just, we were on track. I think, we mentioned in the pitch to do 200,000, in 2015. And yeah, we got, close to that. We thought we would air, I guess, earlier. We didn't know it would take so long to air, but
before the new year.
Before the new year. And so, the Shark Tank Tsunami basically hit in 2016 in April, and yeah, that's now catapulted us to kind of basically the $400,000 range. So it's been great.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's always interesting because people assume that every product sells really well, and the truth is the majority of them don't. So when I saw your product, I was really curious: is this something that every pet lover is going to go out and buy right away, or are they going to be skeptical? Like, how hard do you have to? How many times as a pet owner have to see your product before they make a decision to buy, or does their vet tell them? Like, what the question of distribution was a big subject during your segment. Have you solved that problem? Do you know where your customers come from and why they buy?
Yeah, no. So we have taken steps we're actually very excited about what's coming up in terms of solving these problems, because we've actually been fortunate enough to take a two-pronged approach to, I guess, this issue. And so on the retail front, we'll be launching in 300 stores. And they're like kind of super Target equivalent, like Target stores equivalent. I can't give the brand away yet. It's launching in December. Okay. But we'll be in 300 stores. And so that's going to be a great kind of retail launch for us. And then we're also working with one of the top three, I guess, pet food manufacturers. I also can't, give that name, but they're going to help us with the vet angle. And so they have lots of good relationships with vets. And so we're going to be able to go after this market, I guess, from both the retail angle and also from the veterinarian angle.
You could be making all this up and we would never know because you just can't tell us anything, huh?
It'll be soon. And so hopefully, if we do a follow-up, I think I mentioned, we do the 1 year from the airing follow-up or something. I'd love to be able to finally then share the names and kind of how everything went.
Call me. Yeah, we'll talk about it. And also we'll share some in-depth information on how you made those contracts happen and the do's and don'ts of selling through those retailers. I think the viewers always love learning that stuff. So
yeah, no, we're learning a lot right now. And retail can have its own kind of set of, I guess, fun challenges.
We're at the Shark Tank Tsunami. Let's kind of back it up and go to the beginning. So how long did it take you to get the product to the point where you could market and sell it? And what was the cost and the company formation? What did that look like in terms of dollars and time?
So I would say time-wise was about a year to get everything kind of, a fully functioning, I wouldn't say prototype, actually like a fully functioning product that we could feel comfortable selling. And in terms of how much we invested, I would say we invested about $100,000 because a lot of that money also went towards the patents and stuff. And so, that split between that and product development, we spent about $100,000 in terms of development.
Did you raise that capital or did you have it in your stash, like under the mattress?
So I raised money from my friends and family, and we also were fortunate to work with the medical manufacturing company that I was worked at before. And so we got lots of kind of support from them to be able to kind of see this product through.
Okay, cool. And that was my other question. It would have taken me a year to find all the little colored pieces of felt to cover the sensors.
Yep.
But that would be my problem. So in terms of a year getting the product, the cup looks fairly familiar because I take drug tests all the time. And but most of it was just the sensors on the top, right? And integrating that with the API with the app. Am I correct in assuming that?
Correct. It was basically mainly getting that script to react the way it needed to, and most importantly then with the app to read the color changes and calibrating the color results to make sure that no matter the lighting condition, you get the same consistent result. And so that was a lot of kind of effort spent on, algorithm, color matching and computer vision. And that was kind of where a lot of our effort was spent.
So you mentioned you're on the in vitro side. I can see a lot of that cost going into the technical side, the app building, the algorithms. What's the size of your operation? I mean, I could see blowing $100,000 just on that part. Who did that for you?
And so this is where we got very fortunate. Right now we're a team of 5. And so, we're still relatively lean. But yeah, we have obviously scientists, programmers and everything. And we still have a good relationship with the medical manufacturing company. And so we're able to leverage a lot of resources there to kind of, do different tests and access the lab space and whatnot. So very fortunate there.
Great. So if you're a subscriber, you can hear all about how Steven got on Shark Tank and what he learned from that process, how long it took. But what we didn't cover, what I'd like to ask you now, is why Shark Tank? When did you decide to do it? And was it a light bulb, or did you say, you know what, I'm going on Shark Tank no matter what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting that exposure.
It's one of those things. I don't want to say if we fell into it, but obviously people had mentioned before, like, oh, you guys would be great on Shark Tank. You have pets, you have urine, like the two of those things, make an interesting kind of thing on TV. So I'd always had that in the back of my mind. But so the way we got on was really like we were in downtown and they had an open casting call in downtown. And it was one of those things like, I was able to go on my lunch break to the open casting call, and fortunately things worked out. And that's how we ended up on the show.
There's all these people who had to fly halfway across the country going, oh, on your lunch break. That's super. Good for you. Very cool. And in terms of your segment, when you actually got on Shark Tank, you probably got one of the best laughs of all of season 7. When you pulled what Mark called your selfie stick, your pee selfie stick out of your pocket and kind of did this collection pose like you were on guard. Was that impromptu, or was that always your plan to pull that thing out and demonstrate the proper way to collect a urine specimen from a female?
Yeah, no, it was like a plan that we thought if the opportunity presented itself that we wanted to like kind of do, because we knew like obviously the collection device was interesting, unique, and so we had it in the back pocket just in case, and it literally was in the back pocket. And if it came up, it would be great, but unfortunately enough, it came out and we had the opportunity to show it off.
So you mentioned your segment was about 90 minutes long before it got cut down, so that's a little on the longer side. What I didn't hear in this interview is anyone talking about the limited scale of what pet ownership is. And in my opinion, if I'm looking to blow holes in this, I say, well, you're in Los Angeles, you're talking about pet parents, there's people in New York where this is obviously going to be appealing, the larger cities, the urban areas. Did anyone crap on this or pee on this, no pun? Say, Steven, this isn't going to work in flyover country. Like, no one is going to be this concerned about their pet, or you're not going to have a dense enough customer base.
No, actually, it didn't come up when and to be honest, like that wasn't the main issue. Their question was like, okay, well, if the vets tell the pet parents to do this, then obviously pet parents will want to do it. And fortunately, so far we've had customers like all over the nation and also internationally so far. And so it hasn't been geographic specific. And I think it's one of those things really like with the veterinarians that we have that support us, like as long as they get the word out to their clients, pet parents all over don't have a problem kind of getting their pets urine and using Petnostics.
Yeah, I mean, Ashton really said that he didn't want to do that. I'm like, if you're a pet parent, if you give yourself that designation, I have a couple of relatives who are pet parents, and they're pet parents for a reason, right? Because they go the extra mile for their pet kids. They dress them, they take selfies with them, they buy them toys. Like, it seems like leaning under them, putting a cup under them isn't that big of a deal. Did you throw that back at him? Because that didn't make the TV, if so.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a lot of well, first of all, the feedback, it was when we were like watching the airing and all the like the live tweets or whatever that were coming in, and even afterwards, but it was one of those things that like a lot of people pointed at the exact fact out. They're like, if Ashton was a real pet parent, like he would collect, there were some like not say mean things people said, but people were also like, oh, maybe he just has like someone do it for him. But as a real pet parent, pet owner, you do go the extra mile for your pet. If there's something that, you need to do, and getting a little urine on your, if or coming in contact with urine, a lot of pet parents wrote in afterwards saying like, oh, that's not a problem at all. I do that already. I would, definitely do this. And so, that's one thing. And then the other thing in terms of like how they edit that portion, right? It's funny because obviously like in our segment, they made that seem like a big concern of Ashton's. But honestly, when we were in there talking through all that whole segment of him being concerned about the collection was honestly maybe like a couple minutes. It was like, I addressed it and he was like, oh, that's good. And it's again funny how they edited like, certain parts of it and played it later and whatnot.
Well, yeah, they showed like 4 or 5 other concerns and then they came back to him going, I still haven't had my question asked about this.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny because again, they show that, and, I guess what they did show on TV too, and this is kind of like, looking back, obviously, like I thought, Ashton again didn't have a problem with it because Ashton actually was in on a deal with Lori, and they had a deal, and through that was another offer that they didn't show on TV, but ultimately Ashton, I guess, backed out. I guess again, and then basically I was then left with Lori and Kevin, and so yeah, I thought for sure that would make it onto TV because I thought that'd be some interesting drama, or like it'd be entertaining at least, but they didn't show any of that.
So my phone's ringing. I can't reach it. So,
no worries.
So this is an unofficial chart that I came up with when I was interviewing Pride Bites. I just resketched it right now. It's not 100% geometrically accurate, but I think you get the point. This is the Pride Bites pet parent scale, right? It starts at P1 at the bottom, goes up to P5. Now P1 are they're just regular people who maybe are not even pet owners, or they're horrible people who don't like animals. And then P5 are the ones who share a toothbrush with their animals, and everyone else is kind of in the middle. I think Ashton was like P1, P2, maybe. I think your customers are P3 to P5. Is this spot on or what?
Yeah, no, that's a very Pride Bites. I love them too. Love Sean and Steven, and that's a really pretty good, accurate representation of pet parents. And, I would say ours, I would like to think ours maybe starts at the P2 up to P5 area. Okay. And, that's kind of, again, when it comes to pets' health, it's one of those things that people do care and they want to, make sure that their pets are doing well. And so that's kind of, appeals to all pet parents.
Hold on. I got to turn my phone off.
Oh, no worries.
I'm really sorry about that.
No worries.
Someone will not stop calling me, and this is going to be a problem. So you're going off. It's the first thing I usually tell my guests to do, and I'm guilty today. So sorry. All right. So, so just a quick cut. Yeah, so that's just a quick distraction. I actually asked Steven to finish the Pride Bites pet scale. He hasn't got back to me yet, so I've got to finish making my own. But yeah, Ashton obviously isn't in it to win it. He's not authentic. No true Scotsman fallacy. I'm glad I didn't realize the part about Ashton being in the deal because, on the show, Mark was out fairly quickly. There was no tech talk, which I thought was odd. Ashton had this big concern. I actually think the bigger problem would be taking that little selfie cup. Do you guys really sell that, the P Collector?
We do, yeah. We have a new model coming out too, where it'll be it'll be able to rotate up and down too. But anyway, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna, because I'm not dexterous enough. I don't have the dexterity to collect it, and then the guy who's the goldsmith who pours it back, or the blacksmith, I would dump it all over the floor. I'd have to go one shot with the cup. Well, our next version addresses that actually. So it'll make it easier. Perfect. You've been listening to your customers.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other concerns that came up while you were in there. So I'm going to go down the notes that I have. We talked about the urine sample. Ashton actually brought up a good point. Why not just poke or prick the dog? Is this more evidence that he's a P2 or lower if he's willing to?
Yeah, I mean, that's like we've talked to a lot of obviously like our customers and our pet, and pet parents just before we actually launched all this too. And like the thought of poking and getting blood at home from your pet just isn't something that most parents wanted to do. And I personally just would not want to do that too. It's just a lot more invasive. I think urine, you see it when you're like, I walk Austin every day and he poops, he pees. Like I see it and it's easy, but then to like go out of my way to poke him unnecessarily is something that I just think most parents wouldn't want to do.
I think psychologically they'll think my dog will hate me if I do this, right? And it's
actual pain that you're then causing, right? Yeah. Versus you're getting under your dog, or with the cat, we have hydrophobic cat litter, but your pet for the most part doesn't mind.
Yeah, your cat will eat you if you poke it too much. They've done studies on this. But wait till after you're dead. Robert asked what the value add is, and he said, you mentioned the check engine light. This is equivalent to the light coming on saying, hey, you need some help. And he didn't really buy into that so much.
Yeah. And so the value, the value proposition is for our pet parents, to be more engaged. Like you see something that may be wrong before rushing to the vet, you do this quick test. It's, simple. It's easy. You can do it at home. It's cheaper. And you have now some information before, say overreacting, going right to the vet, immediately. And so, that's kind of where we were trying to address that initial concern of like, oh, something may be wrong. I'm not sure. My pet can't really say if anything is wrong. And so, a common thing, for example, is like a lot of times pets may make accidents inside the house when they're normally trained to go outside, and a lot of pet parents will think like, oh, that's just my dog or cat, or my dog like being bad. But a lot of times that's like a sign of a urinary tract infection if they're like kind of just going around the house when they don't usually. And so this is a way to then kind of see like, well, maybe let's see if there's anything up before I go right to the vet, or maybe he's just being bad. And so that's kind of where, our initial focus was on. But again, and then also to like, I think Robert did mention, and he very smartly mentioned like, well, there has to also be a reason, and so like these, reasons in terms of, pets that have already chronic conditions such as like diabetes and urinary tract infections and bladder stones, these, pet parents, they actually already do this now. Like the vets, if you have diabetes, you have to then test your pet's urine daily. And so that's why we're now, in our retail launch, we're going to have products that will be meant just for those pet parents, specifically catered towards pets with chronic conditions.
I have a friend who spent not one, but twice spent multiple thousands of dollars getting surgery for a minor surgery for his dog. And I thought, there's no way he's a P4, but there's no way he's not going to spend $10 5 or 6 times to have those things stocked up if he thinks there's a problem. Just don't think so at all. Lori said it's a consumer play. Robert said, I'm not sold on the business model. Vets won't want to make less money. I don't think that matters that much, to be honest. But
yeah, no, I mean, to address that too. It's funny because like that's like the vets that get it. They actually they do see this where it's with the pet parents being more engaged, it actually leads to a better customer satisfaction in the sense of like long lifetime value of the customer, just because, they're catching things earlier. And so then they can deal with that sooner before it gets too late. And then like they have a better relationship with the vet, and the vets actually, like they come out okay. Cause like the pet parents do come in, like they still come in, they're more engaged and more active with their veterinarians. And so
pet parents, right?
Yeah, it was never the goal, and it's never been the goal to replace the vet. And I think that's kind of what got lost a little bit. It was that, I think when they mentioned retail and straight to consumer and that you don't need the vet, I think that's where it was kind of like, it got lost that like, no, we're not trying to replace the vet here. We're trying to really work with the veterinarians. And, and to that point, that's why we have a lot of veterinarian partnerships now. That's why we're like, we have people who are like recommending this to their customers.
Yeah, better tools, better service. It's true. It's not like WebMD makes people not go to the doctor. They just feel like they know a little bit more. Yep. KevinO'Leary, it's not clear what the go-to-market strategy is. That's a risk, and you are slightly pre-revenue. So let's kind of ball this up with some of the other concerns here. Kevin, okay, distribution. He said, look, I think the product's good, but you don't know how you're going to get to your customer. I'm thinking about your $400,000 in annual sales number. Seems really good, but with the amount of pet owners that can spend this, what's keeping you from getting the word out to what's keeping you from 10Xing the company? Like, where is that tipping point going to come?
Yeah, no, to be honest, like I'm more a product guy. And so like I've really been focused on kind of developing the product, making sure it's good. And, to date we spent none or zero, I guess, on marketing and, I guess paid marketing. And so, that's something that we're looking into now, just especially now we have this 300 retail store launch coming up. We really want to kind of capitalize on all that, that presence now. And so for us, it's really now looking into kind of having a clearer marketing plan. And that's something, to be honest, like I just didn't, know as much about. I was always the guy kind of like, oh, like all those ads, like, I never click on them. Like how effective can they really be? But I've now come to appreciate the value of good marketing. And I think that's something that, for us is top of mind now, is really kind of figuring out how to best market this.
Turns out Google and Facebook, they do know something the rest of us don't know, right?
No, it's funny because someone pointed out the fact that like, hey, look at, the Shark Tank airing. That was technically like a marketing, event. And obviously you got good return on that. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And so I think that was really what opened my eye to like, oh, like, there is potential in marketing here. And we really should probably spend some effort kind of marketing the product.
So what is the strategy? I mean, you must have learned a lot from the Shark Tank airing. Is it, you've talked about some big box. Is it retail? Is it Amazon? Is it e-commerce? Is it buying ads online, click ads, things like that?
So I think for us, like we're launching with the retail kind of approach. We're hoping like the retail approach will then drive people in, and so the big box retailers, I think that's a good starting point for us. And as I mentioned, the veterinarian channels too. Once the veterinarians also start getting kind of pushing the word out and incentivizing the vets to do so, I think that's also going to be great, kind of coinciding with the retail launch. And so on the marketing side, yeah, I think we are looking into some of these ads and kind of seeing like, oh, maybe we can kind of pay Facebook, Instagram, whatever, for some ads. That's something that we're starting to play around with. And I think in terms of just kind of focusing on, seeing like, working with some of these people who know what they're doing on the marketing side. We're playing around with different ideas for the e-commerce portion too. There's ideas like, subscription based too. Like, we can, right now we sell a 12-pack, but maybe we can just, sell one a month, send out one a month so that it actually serves as a reminder to the user that, when they get it, to do the test rather than just kind of, buying all 12 and then them having to store it somewhere. And so these are little things that we're all playing around with now. And it's all kind of, again, related more to like the marketing side of things. And it's been fun learning about all this.
Yeah, I like the subscription model for your product because if vets are going to sell it, they're in the office, they can sell the subscription and you can pay them for it. I mean, I don't know if that's kosher because it's medical, but the affiliate program, works everywhere else. So he's got a big incentive to get you new customers and get something in return. I just think that it seems odd to me that there wouldn't be a plan in place to say, look, this is how we get to 10 million with this product because the consumers are out there. So
yeah, no, and I think that's honestly where I've been spending my time now is that like really kind of laying out these metrics and kind of, setting these goals, and as a company, right, when we're, obviously a small company, we have like, 5 people right now. And sometimes, setting proper goals and metrics is very important. Something that I, to be honest, should have done much sooner. But again, like going through the process and kind of being focused on the product first and now realizing that now we have a product that we can grow and like, let's see how we can grow that. And these are the goals and the metrics to get there. Kind of gets everyone, rallying around like kind of, these numbers. And I think that's a great way to kind of get everyone to buy in. And so to your point, exactly. Yeah, that's something that we are definitely focusing on. Have
you done any large platform penetration? Like because dog people, just call them that, if that's a kosher term, they're very territorial, right? You've got your dog blogs, you've got your dog social media tribes, you've got these, I'm sure there's people on YouTube. Has there been any reach out to them in terms of getting exposure on their channels?
No, so and that's been the thing. Like we've actually gotten pretty good placements because people reached out to us. Like we've again, it's all been organic placements, I guess. And so the dog blogs, the cat blogs, the pet blogs, I guess, have reached out. Even the veterinarian blog and magazines. Like we're in Vetted, I guess, this month, which is one of the leading, I guess, publications for veterinarians. And so we've had a lot of these kind of goodwill placements and kind of organic, I guess, leads, I guess, and and when things have been going great for us, it's just that now we've realized that we really should spend some like, actual effort in terms of really being more proactive in this, I think.
Ratcheting it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what they talk about on the show, right? Having a cost of customer acquisition, a model for building that funnel. In terms of the other large platforms like QVC, that was mentioned on the show. Is that something you're still looking at?
Yeah, I mean, the QVC angle, I think is something that we would consider. I think right now we've kind of put on the back burner just because I think we realize that a lot of these channels sometimes preparing for it. And, I mean, Shark Tank itself too, like, while it was great and everything, but, again, when you have limited resources, you really have to pick and choose like what you want to spend your time on. And, the whole Shark Tank thing was still a lot of effort in terms of like, time, focus, that we had to like dedicate to that. And a lot of times sometimes it pulled us away from, kind of like the core of the business, which is really kind of growing the company and really figuring out like what we need to, prioritize, like the metrics, the numbers. And I think for us, that's kind of right now where we want to focus. And yeah, if the QVC things happen or QVC opportunity, like if it presents itself and it's a kind of easy enough thing to do, we'll consider it. But, right now we're not actively trying to pursue that.
Gotcha. Mark Cuban mentioned the strip-driven product is a life cycle, and there's a risk presented by getting disrupted elsewhere. Mm-hmm. You mentioned in the insider segment that conversation actually went on for a while, but kind of give us the 10%, the top highlights of that.
Yeah, no, so that was actually like, I would say me and Mark had like a 15-minute like back and forth in terms of different sensors and medical devices and kind of the different technologies out there. And obviously they didn't show any of this, but my point at the time was that there's a reason why strip-based technology, these colorimetric reactions, they've been around for so long, is because they are the standard of care. And the FDA has approved these products. They're comfortable with them. They know it works. A lot of the sensors that Mark mentioned, and I've played with them and I know how they work, and it's still a while away before like those things potentially even come to market. You look at what happened with Theranos. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Theranos. They're this.
I get their quarterly reports. I have their white paper sitting right here, actually. No, I have no idea who it is.
But Theranos, they raised Elizabeth Holmes raised billions of dollars. Was very they're the ones that claim to do with one drop of blood, complete blood panel and everything. Had new technology and everything. Again, raised billions. Built out they had Kissinger on their board and all these kind of Secretary of Defense people and so built out this really at the time I think they were worth $4.5 billion. But then last. I think it was maybe a few months ago or last year anyways, that the New York Times or someone did a investigational piece into Theranos, and everything that that they had wasn't really backed up, and ultimately the FDA has since banned Elizabeth Holmes from running her company, and it's just it's one of those things that's there's a lot of these sensors out there that can claim to do a lot of things, but until you actually get a product out onto shelves and approved by say the FDA on the human side, these sensors and these types of things there's still quite a ways to go for some of these products to see the light of day. And so I just that's what we talked about with Mark back and forth, and ultimately I understood why he kind of backed out. He had an investment in one of these sensor companies, and I respected his decision to back out. But it was interesting because again I thought I had pretty engaging conversation with him, but I think people probably it didn't make for good TV, I think.
I get what you're saying. It's true. I think they figured they have about a 10-second attention span per question, right? Yeah. So, and keeping that in mind for our audience, the last thing I want to know is Mark says in his book or an article that if you're thinking about your exit, you're not focused on the goal, right? If you're thinking about the exit, you've got one foot out the door. But in terms of your company, is the exit when you get the human product approved and someone comes along, the company that Elizabeth Holmes used to run, Theranos, they come and scoop you up for $1 billion and then you're done? Or are you just going to keep working on the pet side until you...
No, our goal is to kind of keep working on the pet side. And, obviously the human market is something that's exciting. And so we kind of want to also, maybe start working on that too. But right now, our goal is to just stay focused on this. We, think there's a lot of potential in terms of other products that we can add on to kind of the Petnostics brand, pet health, pet diagnostics, and, making healthy living easier. It resonates with pet owners or pet parents. And so, that's kind of where we want to stay focused on.
That's great. Great. Okay. Well, Stephen, I really am glad that you came on. I think you gave a lot of great insight for the listeners. If someone wants to run out and get one right now, where should they go?
You go to petnostics.com. And we have products available now. And, in December, when our retail launch occurs, you can get it then in one of the 300 stores that, fortunately, I can't name yet again. So that wasn't too helpful.
Is that, okay, I'm going to ask for a hint then. Is that a regional rollout or is that a nationwide rollout?
This one will be a regional one in the Midwest.
So do me a favor, when that happens and things kind of die down a little bit, give me a buzz and we'll have you back on. You can talk about it. We'll do a little webinar about some do's and don'ts of doing a regional rollout with the retail.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Stephen, thank you so much. It's Stephen Chen of Petnostics from season 7 of Shark Tank. We'll be looking for an update and also the re-airing tomorrow. So everybody check them out and lots of luck to you out there.
Thanks a lot, TJ. I love your podcast. Love what you're doing.
Thank you for jumping in to the Shark Tank podcast. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes and head over to sharktankpodcast.net to get the show notes from each episode and join the free Shark Tank Insiders list. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Shark Tank Podcast and on Twitter at Shark Tank PDcast.
I'm a big fan of money. I like it. I use it. I have a little. I keep it in a jar on top of my refrigerator. I'd like to put more in that jar. That's where you come in.